All right, all right, all right. It is 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, according to my clock. And again, welcome, welcome, welcome everyone to this month's Facebook Live with your retirement coach, Diva Sharon. And our guest this evening, as I say, every month is a special month. And every month I am excited about the guests that we have here. And today is no exception. So I'm excited that we have Renee Farmer with us, who is, make sure I'm getting this right, oncology financial navigator team leader at Inova Hospital here in the Washington, D.C. area. And she is here to talk to us about making sure that we understand about how we can get financial help through the hospitals when we have a catastrophic event in our lives when it comes to our health. And so thank you, Renee, for being with us this evening. And we have a lot to talk about. You have so much to share, and I can't wait for everybody to hear. So as we are going through this conversation this evening, I want to make sure that our people who are watching type into the chat your comments and your questions for Renee and I, so we can make sure we address them as we go through this next hour. So again, welcome, Renee. And if you could just tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do, so our guests can know more about you.
Absolutely. Thank you all for having me, Sharon. Thank you so much. This platform is a very good platform for me to be on today, and I employ and welcome all comments, concerns, questions. A little bit about myself. My name is Renee Farmer. I work at Inova Fairfax Hospital at the Shar Cancer Institute. I've been there since 2017, but been in healthcare since 1999. My role and my title is an oncology financial navigator. I am their team lead. I am over a team of 39 employees. I coach, I onboard, I support my team, and we do authorizations for chemotherapy. So, just to give you a little scenario, patient comes in through the ER or through their primary care physician, discover they have something, get diagnosed. That order then comes over to myself in the pharmacy. We take it from there. We reach out to the insurance company to get that medication authorized. Let me just say chemotherapy can cost anywhere from $50 to $500,000 for
Whoa.
one treatment.
Wow.
My job then as a navigator versus a financial counselor look at insurance benefits, go over co-pays, deductibles, and help patients with coming in to pay their payment. My job as a navigator is to offset that balance, to take the financial hardship off of patients so they can focus on getting the treatment that they need.
Mm.
What we do is look at your insurance plan. And let me just say this to you. A lot of times patients come to us thinking they have the best insurance. And
Mhm.
let me say, federal government employees are the main ones that say, well, I have federal government employee, Blue Cross Blue Shield. You don't realize how good or how bad your insurance is until you have an event such as cancer,
Mhm.
whether it be a baby, an adult, or geriatric patient. But I always remind people that before you are a patient, you are a person. So our job is to treat you as just that, a person, first and foremost. What we do is go out to the community and we have um, facilities that we deal with that does copay assistance, which helps pay for the cost of the drug, which only leaves the patient the obligation of paying for administration fees. Administration fees amounts from $12 to $20. That takes off that $50 to that $500,000. For those patients that make income is very high, we find them foundations. Every month, there's a foundation for every disease type. And it's just like the stock market. We have to keep staying on it every day to watch to see if there's prostate cancer that open up, if there's breast cancer that open up, and then we tap into those funds immediately. You can
Mhm.
offset a person's balance by 100% where they have to pay nothing at all.
Wow.
These programs are offered in every single state, not only the state of Virginia.
Mhm.
Every hospital has a program called charity. The government gives an hospital charity amounts in millions and billions of dollars every year. If you cannot afford to pay whatever it is that you are to pay, reach out to a financial counselor and ask, can you apply for charity? Charity is given state of where you reside. So if you're in Maryland, you can apply for all the Maryland grants and copay assistance and charity. If you're in Virginia, you can apply for the same thing. And DC has that program as well.
So, Renee, you have so much information, and I want to make sure that everybody gets it. But first, we want to say, wow, I just want to tell everybody why we decided to do this right now. And we decided to do this right now because it is open enrollment, open season, and people need to check their benefits, check the services that are within their health plans to make sure that they have the services that they have will cover them just in case. Like we have car insurance just in case. You know, we don't expect to have an accident, but we have that car insurance just in case. With our health insurance, the main thing we look at is how much the premium, what is my out of pocket, you know, does my doctor take it? What, you know, what's kind of services as far as basic services, you know, like how many times can I go for my physical or eye appointments, dental appointments. We don't think about if I get cancer, if my family member gets cancer, those things like that. So this is the main reason why I had asked you to come, because you told us your personal story, and that just intrigued us so much that I had to have you here. So if you don't mind sharing your personal story so others can know how you came to what you're doing now.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for that. So let me give you a little bit of tidbit on myself. I've been in healthcare since 1999. I had been really interested in healthcare and being in a medical facility where I can help people. So I wanted to become a physician. But then once I realized that that's going to take me a little bit too long with having two children, I decided to go to vest in being a physician assistant. And I had petitioned at Howard University for a lengthy amount of time and finally got accepted in June of 2004, only to happen June 3rd of 2004. A lady hit me in a head-on car accident at 25 miles an hour. That changed my life. So according to me, I had a plan, but God had a different plan, and it changed everything for me. So I could not continue PA school because you cannot miss a semester. And I had had 5 surgeries in 1 year where I had to have my right leg reconstructed for my nerve. With that being said, I had to ask God, what is it that you want for me? And He said to continue to help people. And I just took on being an oncology financial navigator as well as a financial counselor and just helping people with their benefits. The good thing, Sharon, that you jumped in and added on was everyone knows if you have a deductible and you have your windshield get cracked or you have a car accident, what is your deductible? People say, oh, $500 for my auto insurance or $1,000. But if I was to ask you, what is your out of pocket or your co-insurance? The first thing is a blank look comes on people's face. And I explain to people, your health plan has a copay, which everyone seems to know their $25 or their $20 copay or their $30 copay. But when I ask you what's your deductible, they say, oh, it's 250 or 500. What no one knows that they have a co-insurance attached to that, which applies to your out of pocket. And a lot of time I have patients that say, but I'm 100% covered. You're not 100% covered until the deductible is fully met and that out of pocket is totally met for that year.
Mm, mm. So you said something really important at the end, for that year,
For that year.
because based on what you're saying, this starts over every calendar year. Am I correct?
It is so. So you have contract year programs and you have calendar year programs.
Mm,
A lot of the programs that you want to invest in is a calendar year. So although open enrollment may be next week for the federal government, the
mm-hmm.
plan starts January 1
Right.
and it
Right.
terms December 31st. You have
Mm,
some agencies that have a contract year where they start in June, July, or August
mm-hmm.
as their start date, and it goes on until the remaining year of that same date. So it depends on when your open enrollment for your facility is.
So that's another thing that we have to be aware of, are those dates, because if we are outside of the federal government, then those dates can vary based on whatever the contract is with the company or organization that you're with. So you said something else that I'm sure our listeners are not aware of, and that's coinsurance and deductible. Can you just give a little bit of explanation and the difference in the two?
Yes. So the way deductibles work is, say you have a 250 deductible and you have a $1,000 out of pocket. Every time you pay that $20 copay, it goes towards the deductible and it keep knocking that chunk down. Your coinsurance, depending on the contract, can apply to your deductible as well as your out of pocket. And those are the plans you really want to pick. So every time you pay that $20 copay, it also may come with, depending on the plan that you have or the services that you're going to be receiving. For example, you're going to a specialist. It may require a $20 copay, but also a 20% of the overall charge.
Mm,
So that's when you pay that $20 and then you get home a month later, you get a bill and you're like, but I paid it. That's that 20%. That 20% that they're asking you for goes towards your deductible and it goes towards your out of pocket. So it keeps knocking it down. And those are the plans you really want. You don't want a plan that only pays for deductible and then you have a separate coinsurance for the out of pocket. Those take longer time to reach to
mm,
cover that 100%.
mm, mm. So when you are talking with anyone that says they have a good plan, that they had the best plan. I'm not going to say just federal government employees say that, because I'm sure you run into people from other companies that feel the same way. They've been under their plan for years, and then
Yes.
all of a sudden they have something that hits them or their family. What is the first thing that you do when you talk to them?
What I do is break down their insurance for them. I pull up everything for them and I let them see it in black and white because sometimes you can be speaking and it's not being conveyed. They're
Mm-hmm,
not hearing you. So I pull it up in black and white and we share it together and we just have a sit down side by side conversation, whether it be virtual or I actually sit down with my patients. And I go over the insurance and I explain to them. And the first thing they say is they never knew. A lot of patients will say, oh, I got it through my spouse and they picked it. And I always encourage people, share and pick it with, if it's your family, sit down and talk to your family. Know what's going on in your family. Talk about it. The one thing that people don't do is talk about what goes on in their household or what goes on in their health. So you go to the doctor and you won't even come back and share.
mm-hmm,
And then you have your spouse or significant other picking an insurance for you and it doesn't cartel to what you need.
mm-hmm,
So then if you pick, for example, an HMO plan because it's cheaper for you, but then this individual or yourself need to see a specialist and it's out of network, that plan does not benefit you. And
mm-hmm,
then you're constantly paying more out of pocket on the back end. A lot of times people will say, well, I'm healthy. I don't need a PPO. I don't need all that money coming out my check. But as
mm-hmm.
soon as something happens, you have to wait to open enrollment again to change your insurance.
Right, right, right. And it's interesting that you saying that about what the plan has to offer. My daughter came over and asked me to look over her information. And, I was looking over it and I was, amazed at some of the services that she had. And she was like, well, I keep getting bills. And I said, you probably are using someone that is out of network,
Mm-hmm.
because based on what I'm reading, you should only have one payment and the rest of it covered. That's the way I interpret what she had. And I said, you need to find out if you are out of network, because yes, you're going to receive a bill. And
Mm-hmm.
because she's like, I still pay every time, but I keep receiving these bills. I said, yeah, you need to find out. So can you go into, because you mentioned that too, about being in and out of network. How does that work for someone?
So let me say this, with an HMO plan, you have to find providers that are in network.
Mm-hmm,
Whenever you sign up to see a physician or to get any type of services, always ask, is this within my network? And if you have a doubt, call member service on the back of your card.
mm-hmm,
With a PPO plan, it allows you to go in network providers as well as out of network providers. With an HMO plan, you must have a primary care referral. If you do not have a primary care referral and you know that you are required to have a primary care referral, those chances of them paying a claim is that they will not pay it
mm-hmm,
just because you do not have a referral. Understand that the primary care gets paid based upon that referral, even if you're going to see a specialist With a PPO, it allows you to be able to go in and out of network without having that PCP involved. So
Mm.
you have access to more services. You have access to your co-insurance and co-pay deductibles applying to one, which is out of pocket. Another tidbit I wanted to add to that is if you have to have a procedure, I tell anybody this, make sure that you ask, is the anesthesiologist in network?
Mm.
75% of the time, the anesthesiologists are private contracted and they are not in a network plan. So you will get three bills. You will get a physician bill, a facility bill, and an anesthesia bill.
Okay, okay. So we need to talk about this because you just said that people can get three separate bills for
Hmm.
one procedure. Well, when you go into the hospital or to the facility to have this procedure done, the assumption is I'm giving my insurance information
Hmm.
and my insurance is going to cover everything. Nobody that I remember sat down with me ever to say, oh, well, this is only going to cover this.
Hmm.
This will be billed this person and this, not until you get the bills in the mail and you're like, what is going on? And I know people who ignore that because they feel that everything is covered under the insurance. So how can we really be educated consumers?
First thing is to read that contract that you're signing. Do
Mm,
not feel rushed to sign it because
mm,
somebody's on the other side of you, in front of you, wanting you to sign that paperwork.
mm,
One of the biggest advice I tell my mom is that read it. It is a contract, just like your mortgage and your car. Do not just sign it because you have 50 sheets of paper in front of you. This is your life. This, if you have this medical bill holding over your head, this can take your home from you.
mm.
So you have to stop, think, and read. Also, ask for copies. Never feel that I'm about to have surgery. I can't ask for copies. Take it home and read it 72 hours after a procedure.
Mm.
There is a contact number on there. It says on there in fine print. A lot of times the anesthesiologists are not included in your global bill. You want to reach out to them and say, "Can you have do you have a financial counselor there that can help me?" 99% of the time they do. But is anyone going to call them? They're not. Because
Mm.
again, they're thinking that it's all global. I always ask, and another thing is prior to surgery, I ask who is my anesthesiologist, and I call my member service and say, is this provider in network? Because at that point, you have the right to change it. Just because they're
Wow.
assigned to your case does not mean that you have to go with them.
Mm.
Remember, you are the head of your healthcare, and that's the one thing you have to understand. Do not let people depict what's going to happen. Another thing I want to share with you is that a lot of times you get bills from urgent care from the hospital, and they will say, Sharon, prior to your procedure, you have to come up with $500. You have to let them know, I would rather pay my deductible or my copay. And I want you to process the claim and then I will pay the remaining balance. And let me explain to you why. If you pay up front, the insurance company is not going to pay.
I don't know what to say.
Did you hear what I say? If
I
you
heard
pay up
exactly what you
front,
said. I am shocked and amazed about what
insurance
you just
company
said.
is a business. An insurance company is the biggest business. So if I, the facility, because remember, at the end of the day, I have to collect for my facility, right? Because it's a
Mm-hmm.
business. And I
Mm-hmm.
say, Sharon, tomorrow's your procedure. We're expecting you to pay $500 up front. The first thing you're thinking to yourself is, I need to have this surgery. I don't have it. Can I? And now you start negotiate. That's the wrong thing to do. You say, what is the least that I can pay? I would rather pay my copayment or my deductible. And I know for a fact, because it is November, I have already met my deductible for the year. May not have met my out of pocket yet, but I've met the deductible for the year.
Mm-hmm.
So can you go ahead and process this claim, which would take 30 to 45 days, and then whatever is remaining, then I will pay it. You will be surprised that you owe nothing because the surgery has already paid for the entire cost of your out of pocket.
Wow. That was some good stuff. I hope everybody that is online now listening are taking notes type into the chat, send us some emojis, let us know that you're listening, you're getting some great information, and give us your questions. We want to make sure that we are providing the information that you actually are looking to hear when it comes to how to handle financial situations when you're dealing with a catastrophic illness. And again, it's not just for you personally, it could be for a family member, it could be for a friend that you know might be dealing with this, because we never know when or where this may come up within our lives. So you definitely want to make sure that you are dropping it into the chat, and make sure you like and share this information for people who are online now. You can let them know that they can go to my YouTube channel, Royalty Business Group. It's going to be there for them to listen to this, as well as all the past episodes we had. Visit my website and just share, because that's how we are get educated, by sharing the information. So tell us more about what we can do to be proactive, not just with you mentioned about going into the hospital and procedures. How about with the actual medications and things that we have to take, because you mentioned also about the treatments. So how do we make sure that we are aware of those financial situations that come up?
One of the things I impose is that if you have a prescription sent to you, for example, I always say shop around. There is a card that's out called Good RX for those that do not have pharmacy
I've
coverage.
seen that. I've seen that.
And that is a good saver because you can even go online for Good RX and it will tell you if you get this prescription at Safeway, what it will cost you. If you get this prescription at Walgreens, what it will cost you. If you get it at Target, what it will cost you. It's a really good tool. It also have coupon savings that will help you with the cost of the drug. But I always call the pharmacy and ask them, how much is this going to cost me? And is there any savings programs? The same thing that we have at the hospital, every pharmacy has a patient assistance program that helps with the cost of every medication, whether it be brand or generic. And a lot of patients say, well, I want brand. That's a good tool, but it may be generic, maybe even better for you. It's composed of the same pharmaceuticals. It does not change.
Mm-hmm.
It is the same. Tylenol is the same thing as acetaminophen. It does not change.
Right.
Um, you're paying for the name brand, you're paying for the generic name. It's no difference. But the same thing we do at the hospital, we also connect with the pharmacy. So a lot of times that we have these copay assistance and foundation programs that pays totally 100% for the drug costs. And I'm telling you, these drug costs are very high.
Mm-hmm.
And we think that, yeah, you met your out-of-pocket deductible, but you don't know these hidden fees that comes about with the medication. Medication authorizations can take anywhere from 5 to 7 days, business days to get approved.
Mm-hmm.
But once you get it approved, always ask for a 90-day supply. You will come out saving yourself a whole lot more with 90-day supply versus a 30 or a 60-day supply. And
Okay.
ask your physician to write it for a 90-day supply.
Hmm. So what should we be looking for in our insurance to help us with those medications? Because I have seen that about the 90-day supply, and I'll even say that my insurance company or my doctor always gives me a 90-day supply now. That is one thing I've noticed the change over the past few, not few years, but over the years, because it used to be monthly. But what is it that, from your experience, that we should look for when we're looking at our health insurance when it comes to the medication?
One thing I would look for is that when you're picking your insurance plan is look at the prescription coverage. You want to look at the prescription coverage where it says it covers 90 days as opposed to 30-day supplies. If you
Mhm.
pick a plan that has the 90 days, you're better coming out with a better pharmacy plan than picking the regular 30-day supply ones. A lot of times the 30-day supply ones will not cover many of the drugs.
Mm.
And that's when you get a lot of rejections when you go to your pharmacy and they say, I'm sorry, Sharon, this is not covered through your health insurance. So you want to pick the plans that when you're looking at your plan, always start, I always say, with the more simplicity thing, which is pharmacy first, vision and dental second, healthcare overall.
Mm. Okay.
Because healthcare overall is going to cover a majority of things. But if you start with pharmacy first, that's going to be your maintenance. That's going to get you through month to month to get you out of your primary care office or out of specialist office. So let's start with that first, then your dental and vision. which is every 6 months or once a year type
Mhm,
things. And
mhm,
then you want to look at something as your healthcare is last, because you can always go to your primary care or your overall specialist to get whatever you need to get as far as care. So pick it in that order. You'll see yourself saving a lot, and you'll be able to also invest into your health plan a lot better. But remember, if you invest into your health plan, you invest into yourself. Also, when you're picking your plan, look at plans that say if you get a wellness exam, they will give you $75 for coming to do a wellness exam a year. There's a lot of plans that do that.
mhm,
If you
mhm.
do get your dental, if you go to dentist and you see them once every year, they actually give you a $75 stipend for that. If
Oh,
you do eye exam, because they want to make sure you stay healthy, and that's a part of their wellness program. So if
mhm,
you participate in their wellness program, you get a lot of kickback from that.
okay.
People ask me, what's the best time to do it? The beginning of the year to the middle of the year. Because if you wait to the end of the year, like for example, now you go to your primary and you get everything done. Say your primary say, I want to see you back in January. Now your benefits start all over again. But if you
Mhm.
had got it done at the beginning of the year or middle of the year, by this time, if they want to see you in 3 to 6 months, you've already met your out-of-pocket deductible for the year. That visit is free. You already paid for it. So don't wait so much to the end of the year to get something done. Try the beginning to the middle of the year to get things done.
Okay, all right. So, what about access and convenience to the doctors and things? How important is that when we are looking at our medical care?
Say it one more time.
Having access to local doctors and hospitals. How important is that to when we are looking at our medical care?
It's very important that you be able to have access and be able to get to it in a convenient time. You don't want to pick someone that is 2 or 3 hours away. The likelihood of you getting to that primary care doctor that you liked a long time ago or that your mom
Mhm.
went to is that you're not going to go. You want to pick places of convenience. Also understand that every facility have social workers. So there are vans and there's food accesses and there's transportation that every facility offers for free through your insurance company. The only
Oh,
thing is that you just let us know or let the social workers know. We reach out to your insurance company, and then they provide that transportation however you need it. They also help with household bills, whether it be your electric bill, food for your home. So we tap into many services as well as a financial counselor as well.
okay, all right. And then we know that everyone doesn't have the same type of insurance. And what I mean by that is that because we have federal and non-federal workers within every state,
Mhm.
you have to make sure that people understand that if I have Blue Cross Blue Shield as a federal worker, and then you have somebody else who had Blue Cross Blue Shield in the private industry position, that the contracts are going to be different.
Mhm.
So, and this is what I hear for federal workers who come in from the private sector. Oh, I want to keep Kaiser. I want to keep Blue Cross Blue Shield because that's what they had before. But looking at the services, going back and looking at the services again is very important. So we want to make sure people understand that as they are looking at plans as well. And something that you had mentioned before is about the details in the policy. How, because those books, like I remember getting those paper books in the mail, and they were you just throw it to the side. It's just too big to read. So you mentioned about the three areas, but is there anything specifically within those areas that we need to look at, especially when it comes to our those co-insurance and deductibles? Because they'll say some of them have dollar amounts, some of them have percentages. How are we supposed to know what is what and how to understand that information?
I always say there's two people that you have. You have your benefits rep who
Mhm,
will easily explain it to you, and you also have member services who will break it down even more so to you.
mhm.
Remember, you are the consumer, you're the one that's paying for that, as well as the institute that you are hired with also buy into that insurance plan. I hear people say all the time, just like you said, oh, I have care first, or, I want to pick Aetna. And people say, Aetna's a good plan, right? Or United Healthcare. It depends on how the plan is written. Every plan is not the same. Just because you have United Healthcare doesn't mean you have the best of the best or Federal Blue Cross. Every plan says something different and covers something different. Depends on the buyer, which is your facility. When they go to the insurance company, they say this is what we want for our employees.
Mhm.
Reach out to your benefit person to see what is it that they're offering this year as opposed to next year. That is
Mhm.
different. Um, when you need some things, reach out to your benefits person and say, listen, this is what I have going on in my family. And it is these programs are not offered this year. But next year when you're looking to buy an insurance plan, can you look into these type of things that help me with my child care or help me with my child? Because you'd be surprised of what they can buy into for the next coming year. But if you don't know, they're going to keep buying what is better beneficial for the facility. So when I say, like you said, when you get those big books, it's like, oh, here's a book and I'm gonna put it aside. It's just become dust or something to sit on.
Right.
But it has so much information there. Do we expect you to know it all? No, that's why you contact member services, who is educated enough to break those things down for you. And I'm
Wow.
here too. If you never need me, I'm here. I will definitely walk you through it. So
Yeah, that's good. That's good to know. That's good to know. And so, based on your title in oncology, I'm thinking that people reach out to you when they are at that point, they've been diagnosed, and now um, they are looking for care. They start getting those treatments and things, and they don't realize the amount of money that it takes to um just have those treatments. You said from $50 to $500,000. Like, I don't know nobody who got $500,000 per, to just go with treatments. So how do you determine who gets what and when and things like that? How will somebody know?
every state has an income bracket. What I would do, say for example, I have a patient, and my very first patient was a patient that had prostate cancer. This man made 500,000 a year, and you think that's a lot of money, but you have to understand someone who makes that kind of money lives at a different type of lifestyle.
Mhm.
Both he and his wife had got diagnosed with cancer. She had breast cancer stage 4
Mm,
within 2 months, and he got diagnosed with stage 4 prostate cancer. So
wow.
you think, well, if you look at it on the back end, you say, well, they make this amount of money, they can afford it. You don't know what their mortgage is like or what their livelihood is like. So you can't make those assumptions. What you have to look at is the right now. The right now is that the wife no longer was able to work. The right now is that his hours is no longer 80 hours every 2 weeks. His now hours is 10 hours every. So we now make the adjustment upon the right now and what his income is right now. And when we do those assessments of the right now, you're able to get them funding. I was able to get this man $1 million grant that paid for all of his treatments. And then when he told me about his wife treatments was covered and she wasn't even my patient.
Mm,
So when people bring these things to the forefront to me, I then become investigational and say, let me see how I can help the entire situation. Let me just say this patient now, I got him in December of 2017. He now is in remission. His wife is also in remission, and they have actually went back to work, and they have actually started donating to the foundations that I was able to get them to help other people. So it's like a cycle. It just continue on the more and more you help. The thing that I do love about it is that when you come upon situations like this, it takes you back. Because again, in your mindset, you're like, this person has 500,000, they make a year, they can afford it all. You do not know their situation
mhm, mhm,
until you're in that situation. And no one wants to put themselves in that situation. But I do anywhere from infants that have cancer all the way up to geriatric patients that have cancer.
mm,
One of the biggest catastrophics for myself is that patients will, succumb to cancer, and the family member will be left as a beneficiary. I always say never sign your name to a hospital bill because then it makes you entitled to pay whatever the patient owed.
mm,
The thing that we say is, and I had a patient, they had a $50,000 balance, but they had a home that their mom had left them. Do you know that before they can even cash out on the home or sell the home or take ownership of the home, medical is the first thing that came out? So what I recommend to the family is reach out to the hospital and let them know my mom is deceased, which we already know that. We get a flag as soon as it happened. My
mm,
mom is deceased. She has no assets. Yes, she left this in her will, but she has no assets. And 90% of the time, that bill is written off. But if you do not say anything, the state will go after that first before you can get anything. And let me tell you, that happens 90% of the time. So it's always good to be connected with someone in the hospital. Ask, like, hey, I'm going in for services. Do you have a financial counselor that I can be in tied with? I can tell you 100% of the time, there's always somebody already linked to your account.
Now,
We're already assigned.
does that person normally reach out to the patient or their family?
We should. Yes, we
Mm,
are supposed to.
mm,
I can tell you the ratio, especially after COVID, is maybe one financial counselor to 1,000.
oh, mm, mm,
Um, like I said, I have a team of 39,
mhm.
and in a day, I may see 500 accounts. Just me, myself. Can
Wow.
you hit every patient? No, but you have to at least look at every account.
Mm,
And you have to look at those balances. And when you see somebody with a large balance, the first thing you do is you need to be on the horn, trying to figure out how can you help that patient. And if you can't reach that patient, you need to be contacting the next of kin. A lot of times it's a lot that patient or that next of kin is already going through. But the first thing you say is, how can I help you?
and just me listening to you, you you said that you all reach out to people who have, large balances. However, those persons that might not have a large balance doesn't mean that they are still not in financial need,
Absolutely.
because we don't know, what their situation is. And as you mentioned before, you'll know their lifestyle. And
That's
so
correct.
some people use the hospital as their primary doctor,
Hmm.
you know. So those persons who don't have insurance and come in, and then they have this, diagnosis, and it's, life or death, they need to get the treatments. How do they make sure that they have an advocate?
So I'm glad you said that. I'm really glad you said that. Patient comes in, say this patient's been using the emergency room as their primary because they don't go to their doctor. And they're not, and we are not reaching out to them to say, okay, this person has a $300 balance. And $300 may not sound like a lot.
Mhm,
But the next time they come in, that balance is now 300, is 600. Now it's 900. As soon as it becomes 1,000, it's considered bad debt, which means it can put them in collections. We
mhm,
have another team that works that. That team reaches out to that individual and say, it seems like you have $1,000 balance, which is now in collections. You are a Maryland resident. There is Charity who can help you. Charity can go back anywhere from 16 months to 3 years on a balance.
mhm,
Let's see how we can help you. All we need to do is fill out this application, submit any bills that shows that you're actually a resident, and two pay stubs or your taxes. Where if you work underneath the table, we are a licensed notary. I need you to
mhm,
write a letter saying that you're not working, you haven't been working, you've been taking care of your mom, therefore you aren't able to work. You can get charity for 6 months. Every 6 months you reapply, but it will
mhm,
also cover your past debt. So don't let it keep accruing and accruing. When you see these bills come through the mail, don't do like myself used to do and tear it up and throw it in trash, or I'll get to it next month. Get
mhm,
on top of it because you don't
mhm.
want it to be the problem why you can't sustain everyday life situations.
Right, because until it goes in collections, then you figure that you don't need to pay. It's, and by then, if you let it go too long, it's sold to somebody else, and all kinds of things showing up on your credit report and things like that. And that's what we're trying to avoid. We want people to understand that there is help out there
There is help
for
out there.
you. So it's just not when you have the catastrophic events, which, and I'm glad that you are explaining this, because it could be for anything, walking into there with a toothache. And I
Mhm.
had my son go in because his tooth was aching so bad one day, and he ended up had abscess,
Mhm.
and, had to have that situation. And at the time, he was no, he had aged off my insurance. I mean, he wasn't working. So he had to figure out how we're going to get this done. But it doesn't seem like people are as are getting the information. I was gonna say that
Mm-hmm.
as they should, because we don't take advantage of reading the bills, or reading not just the bills, I'm sorry, but reading the information. Like you said, we get that paperwork and it tells us all this stuff. We just like, okay, we're just gonna sign.
Mm-hmm.
I'll
Mm-hmm.
deal with it later. We just sign.
Mm-hmm.
And you also mentioned the ratio of patients to your counselors is just outrageous.
It is. It's
Yeah.
off the chart.
Yeah.
It is, and one of the biggest things is that you have to have a passion for it.
Mm,
This is not a job that you can just sit down and I can teach you how to do it. If you don't have a passion for it, a lot of people that's on my team either had a patient that has cancer, a family member themselves, or a neighbor or a friend that had cancer. So they are definitely more attached to the role. And they're very empathetic and very compassionate in what they do. So they love what they do. And it makes them
mm,
want to learn more and more of the job title and what it is necessary to help someone. And 90% of my team, 100% of my team actually find joy in what they do because they
mm,
take ownership of this and they actually befriend the patients for a lifetime. Um, which is a good thing, which is a really good thing. And we have so many programs that also help our team become even stronger at being an advocate for the patient. Because the whole thing is, can you advocate for somebody who can't
mm.
advocate for themselves? Doesn't mean that they're weak, but can you advocate for them?
Right. Now, I know that you didn't finish your story.
About.
I don't, you choose. We can talk more about your story and how you became an advocate.
So let me explain. I became an advocate because I had the rarest cancer to ever have in the world. So in 2008, I actually was working labor and delivery at City Memorial Hospital for 16 and a half years. And one day I just was reaching up in the cabinet and started having back pain, severe back pain, to where I had to drop my arm, couldn't breathe. And someone had asked me to do something for the OR. And I said, yeah, as soon as I finish having this heart attack, I will help you. And they looked at me sideways and they was like, well, go to the ER. Went to the ER, had a CAT scan, and they said, well, we found a small cyst in your left lower lobe. The cyst was the size of a dime. But they couldn't understand why it was making me short of breath. They gave me 3 days off. I went to see my primary, who sent me to a thoracic surgeon. This surgeon said, I can tell you have a mass. However, I'm going to India for 3 weeks because I had planned on going for 3 weeks, is what he said. Have an MRI and I'll see you in 3 weeks. Okay. Had that MRI, came back. And one of the things I should not have done is had the scan done at the facility that I worked at, which allowed me to check my records immediately.
Mm,
And when I saw it, I was blown away. This mass had started from the size of a dime that grew to this in 3 weeks.
wow.
So I was told that on a Wednesday, and my surgeon said, well, you're going to have surgery at GW Hospital. If it's good for Cheney, it's going to be good for you. And I'm thinking, okay, whatever that means. I went on surgery on Friday. Now, mind you, 2 days later, it grew to this.
Mm,
So, what I had is what you call a thymoma, THYMOMA. It is one of the rarest cancers to ever have in the world. It is a 3% survival rate. I went in on that Friday. I don't recall waking up, but I wound up waking up with my entire chest cracked open, 15 clips in my chest. This mass had wrapped my lung and my heart. I did not have to do any chemo. I didn't have to do any radiation. And this year, May, made me 15 years remission. And you have to get tested and scanned every 6 months for 15 years because it is a high chance it will come back. But this May made it 15 years of remission. So I rung my bell for that one. Um,
mm,
but that made me want to go into oncology. Like that was my passion. Like if I can survive that, I can survive anything. Mind you, in the midst of me 15 years, 3 years after that, I had a pancreatic mass, a thyroid mass, bilateral cyst mass. And they were like, you need to bring your family in to have this conversation because we give you 6 months. Well, God again had a change in plan. And again, it's been 15 years and I am cancer free.
look at God. Look at God.
Look at God and his amazing work.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
it's so odd that people that see me and work with me have no idea. Um, They have no idea. They're like, "You had what?" Yeah, that is my life. And I wear it as my badge of honor. Like, I don't shy from my scars or anything. As a matter of fact, I love summertime. I show my badge of honor.
Mm,
Um, and when I sit down with my patients, they are taken back and they look at my physique and they go, "I can't believe you had cancer. I can't believe you were sick." And I always tell people, what does sick look like? Sick
mm,
is what you make it look like. Because you're going through something don't mean you have to show it.
yes.
And that's why healthcare is important because, we will spend all this money and we will go through all these channels to look at what is the best auto insurance to get. Is
Hmm.
Geico better to stay? But we don't take that investment when it comes to what insurance plan,
Yeah.
health insurance plan. But we
Hmm.
will go out there and look for that car. We will shine it up and, you get a dent. We'll call State Farm real quick and
Yeah.
put a claim in.
Yeah.
But you will not go in to get that bump checked out that's on your neck. You will not get that mold checked out. And
Mm,
it's like you pay for health insurance every single day of your livelihood, but we don't
yeah.
invest in our body. And I think that's what a tool is. You need to invest in yourself. If you don't invest in anything else, self is more important than anything. And that's why these health insurance have wellness programs.
Mhm.
They're asking you to invest in yourself. So
Mhm.
please take advantage of
Yeah.
that.
Yes. Well, I just want to share with you a couple of comments that are in the chat. For one, they think this is some awesome, great information that you are providing this evening, and that you had just gave a wonderful testimony. And Del Rio
Wow.
said, "God bless you," because
Thank
that
you.
is a blessing that you are still here 15 years
Yes,
later
ma'am.
after going through all those different things. That's a walking, that's a testimony, and it's a blessing that you are able to share this with others. Like I said, looking at you, we would never know. And like I said,
Yeah.
you don't know, you can't always see on the outside things that happen on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
And you could have thought and felt differently, had pity parties, but you decided to take this and use it as a passion to help others. So thank you so much for making sure that others can continue to live and go forward just as you have.
Yes,
Um,
ma'am. You're
so
welcome.
I thought about, when you were saying about the health insurance and everything, and many of us have children. You mentioned that you have children. And one of the things I say to my children when they started to age off my insurance is get everything done, right now while you still have it. how much how important is that to make sure that we are educating our children the same way that we need to be educated about looking at these plans as they are going out into the workforce and having to choose. I mentioned my daughter came to me asking me about, what should she keep and what she should do. How important is it to educate our children in this?
It is very important. And I always explain to your children this is something that you need every single day. Just as we are advocates, be an advocate even more so to your child
Mhm.
because they are your biggest investment. They are a product of you. And if they see that you're taking care of yourself and you make this a very important tool, they too will employ that this is a very important tool. When they're going through these choices and having to make these decisions, remember they are our children. This is a big thing. It's a big thing for adults. So sit there with them and go through, take the time. Take the time to go through the plan and explain and also educate yourself as well as educate your child. You know your child more than anything. You know what their health issues are and you know what their history is. So therefore help them pick out the plan that's more cartel to help them, not to put them in a financial burden.
Mm.
Again, it
Right.
may seem good like you only bringing home $400, so pick this HMO plan. No,
Mm.
no. You want to pick something that's going to be able to help them.
Right.
Um, so for them to be able to advocate for themselves, because mom and dad may not always be there. They may be away at college and they may need to use this health insurance in another state. Is this going to be accessible and efficient for them to use when they're away from home in college? Or is it only good for the local area?
Right.
So you want to make sure you help them with that, whether they're post grad or they're just in a young adult that's with their family or single parent,
Hmm.
or just a single person as an individual. Be an advocate for them and help them and let them know how important this is, especially, I'm gonna say this to a lot of the parents, dental. because I also work urgent care. You'd be surprised at people who come in there every weekend who have a toothache who hadn't been to the dentist in 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years. Have this
That's
access.
7 years.
7 years, especially now with COVID and people working
Mhm,
remotely from home.
mhm.
I can tell everyone on this platform, people do not, the hygiene has gone down
Okay.
because all
Okay.
you have to do is log in, right?
Mhm,
As my dentist says, I love it that COVID happened because now I get to see all the patients because of toothache.
mhm.
Um, but remember, what's in your mouth also festers down to your heart. That's the
Yeah.
first place it's going to go to. So you
Mhm,
don't want that infection to go to your heart and you become septic because now you're paying for something totally different and your whole situation has totally changed in a
mhm.
matter of 2.2 seconds.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yes, please express to your children and significant others, especially males. I have majority male patients who
Mhm,
will not go to the doctor. I'm fine, I'm okay, especially with hypertension and diabetes.
mhm.
Um, Dealing with stress. A
Yeah.
lot of our insurance plans covers mediation, meditation, stress, therapies. There's so many things that our plan covers, and I think that we should take advantage of them.
Okay. So we got about 10 minutes left, and one thing that came to my mind when you were talking was about Medicaid.
Mm,
Now, I know that most people have insurance, but there are those out there that have Medicaid who go through the same things that we, as far as illnesses and things. How does your office help those on Medicaid?
Let me just say, and I'm not being. Let me say this to you. A lot of our Medicaid patients will not come in, but understand that their treatment is everything they get is 100%.
Mm,
Medicaid covers 100%.
mm,
If especially if you go for outpatient, you must go within your state.
mm,
A lot of time patients that come over to the ER. The ER has to accept patients whether you are insured or uninsured
mm,
due to the EMTALA law. But when it becomes an outpatient basis, like if you had to have surgery, you came in through the ER, you had to have surgery, and now a physician has to see you on an outpatient basis. For Medicaid, you have to go to that state in order for it to cover it.
mm,
One thing I'm going to say about Medicaid, the state of Medicaid will not allow you to pay out of pocket. So if
mm,
you are in Maryland and you go to a Virginia facility, outpatient, and they
mm.
say, I'm sorry, Miss Sharon, we do not accept your plan here. You have to go to Maryland. And you say, I can pay out of pocket. Understand, do not pay out of pocket. If a facility say, okay, we'll accept it, do not, because the state will take you off that plan for 5 years. You will not
Wow.
qualify for state insurance for 5 years because the
Mm,
state feels that if you can pay that kind of money out of pocket, then we will not cover you. So
mhm,
you can go to another state and apply. Your social security number will follow you. You will not
mm.
qualify.
Wow. Wow. That's some good stuff. Some good stuff. Another thing, really quickly, while we have some time left, Medicare.
So I'm glad you brought that up. My mom just recently she retired, so she recently has Medicare. Um, the one thing they try to express is, especially this time, open enrollment, get Medicare Advantage. You see JJ from Good Times on TV, get Medicare Advantage. My mom said, why is this man always on the TV? Let me tell you, Advantage plans are good plans. Don't get me wrong. But Advantage Care plans, you really, like any insurance, you have to look at what it will cover and what not cover. Some things, sometimes Medicare Advantage plan will not cover vision and dental. You have to get a different plan.
Mm,
Sometimes it won't cover your prescriptions. You have to get a dental plan. With Medicare, Medicare Part A covers hospital only. Medicare Part B covers everything outpatient. Medicare Part C is vision.
mm,
Medicare Part D is prescription.
mhm,
So a lot of times I always recommend if you have an insurance plan that's working for you and you're retirement age, you can either go with that plan and pay into that if your job, also allow you to have it, but also get Medicare Part A and B. You don't want to hit those premiums or those penalties for not getting Medicare Part B
mhm.
because Medicare will say, well, you had the opportunity to get Medicare Part B and you didn't. So every 10 years they do an assessment and they see if they can just give you that penalty. And it's a really stipend penalty. Let me just say this. My mom just got hit for like $800 for
Whoa.
2 quarters.
Wow.
The good thing about it is that now that January starts, she won't have to pay that because her retirement and her Social Security will kick in. But she didn't want to tap into her Social Security, and that was for whatever reason. But when you have Medicare and you have a secondary, you're covered 100%. So my mom was going to Patient First, for example, which is also where I work, and she kept getting this bill. And because she has the daughter that she have, I get on the horn and I say, "I'm sorry, my mom has Medicare and she has Aetna PPO. She doesn't owe anything." And they say, "Well, she has Medicare Advantage PPO." No, she doesn't. She has traditional Medicare, which is A and B, and she has her PPO plan that she pays for. Her bill's 100% covered. And they
Mm,
said, "Oh yeah, we did charge her $187 on March 17th, so now we're going to reimburse her and reprocess the claim." She
mm,
got back $680.
wow. Mm,
So make sure that if you have dual insurance or treasury insurance, which is Medicare, federal, and TRICARE, make
mhm,
sure that every time you go to that physician or a specialist, they have your insurances on file, and also say to them, "I am retired, Medicare is primary."
mhm,
If
mhm.
your spouse is working, Medicare is not primary. Your spouse insurance is primary. But make sure that they have the filing order correct, because if not, those claims will go out and you will be billed incorrectly.
Exactly. That's just what I was thinking about, having the primary and the secondary, and knowing which one is the primary and which one's the secondary. Because again, being in the DC area, and I'm sure across the country, where you have spouse, one spouse has coverage, and then the other spouse might, also have coverage. You have to know which one's the primary, which is the secondary, in order for the claims to be paid properly. And
Absolutely.
and one thing I found out, I used to go to this dentist where they would not submit claims to my secondary. So, and I didn't know that. So I changed dentists. But
Mhm. Mhm.
um, and that's not the only reason, but we need to be aware of that, because we could be paying bills that we necessarily would have to pay if we knew how the doctor's office was, or hospital, whatever, was processing those claims.
Mhm. One more big thing I want to share with everybody, because it's open enrollment and you get your new cards, please throw away the old cards, because Sharon will come into me and hand me her card with 50 cards in her hand, and I'm supposed to figure out which card is more active. And then she'll say, "But my copay is $25." And if you look at every card, it's different. And I say, "Sharon," she will say to me, "Renee, it's the same insurance. But Sharon, your group number has changed."
Hmm.
So when you have those cars from 1999, get rid of those cars and have the most concurrent card in front
Right.
of you, please. Especially on
Good
the
point.
weekend when the insurance companies are closed. We have
Hmm.
no way to decipher which is the most concurrent insurance.
That's a good point. That is a very good point. And the fact that, like you said, open enrollment, open season, and if you change insurance, you have to be aware, like, it's going to take some time for you to get that new member card.
Mhm.
It may not be there at the beginning of the year or whenever it's supposed to be. So you have to be aware of that, and it could be some out-of-pocket expenses until you get the card and information, but you can always submit a claim to get reimbursed. So, Renee, I'm so thankful that you were available and agreed to be online with us this evening. You gave so much information, and I know that those that are listening now and those that are listening in the future are going to stop and take notes, rewind it, take some more notes, and just so everyone knows, this information is going to be on my YouTube channel, Royalty Business Group. On YouTube, you can follow me on IG, the Retirement Coach Diva. Share this information because it is valuable. Now, I have something coming up special in 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, I'm going to be doing a special Facebook Live. So make sure you join me. It's going to be on, let me make sure I got the date right. It's going to be on Tuesday, November 21st. And I'm going to have kidpreneurs. So if you know any children age 13 or under that have their own business and they want to be featured, because we are getting into that season of holidays where you want to buy. So you want to buy from those young people, those children that are trying to build up their own businesses. So please reach out to me, either send me a direct message, or you can email me at royaltybusinessgroup.202@gmail.com and tell me who they are and what they do, and we can have them featured on this special feature on Tuesday, November 21st at 7:30 p.m. So again, Renee, thank you so much for everything. Thank you for being here. God bless you. And thank you for the wonderful work you're doing. Thank you for all those of you that are listening. And you all have a great remainder of your evening. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Have a great evening, everyone. Stay safe.
Thank you.